Okay, so as I said, Seazone is welcoming everyone to find the jobs. I will write the name of the website so you can log in if you haven't registered yet. And every month we're doing a presentation with one of the guest speakers. And today we have a very, very interesting presentation about yacht courses. Yacht courses, specifically deck courses from the Deckhand basic stages towards captain, even advanced courses of captain, mainly RYA, but there are many routes out there. Erez, I don't know if Erez is going to explain the other or different routes that are possible, but if you have questions about the different routes, he knows everything you need to know about this subject. In our previous presentation, we had how to find a yacht job, and there was a lot of question about courses. That's why we created, wanted to actually bring someone that is in this world. And Erez from Ocean-Yachting, there is a lead instructor of RYA and MCA, and he knows everything to know about yacht courses and about what you need to do, and what are why we need these courses, which is a question that a lot of us ask, and basically what is the path that we need to take. So Erez can explain about his history and his business, basically ocean yachting. And yeah, the stage is yours.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ben. Erez is my name only in certain places. Most of the rest of the world is Ben. First of all, very, very lightly, I will introduce myself. I have about 150,000 miles sailing around the world. I actually circumnavigated the world with a clipper. 2000, 2001. Before that, I did the Volvo Global Challenge for about 15,000 miles. And in the past 10 years, I'm actually instructing courses for the RYA-MCA, IYT, mainly professional courses that leads at the end for a super omega yacht captain or something in between. I assume that all of the participants over here are interested in working in this wonderful industry. And I'm going to try and actually touch the points that are important in order to make your way all the way from crew to a super omega yacht captain. If you have any questions, please either put them on the chat or leave them to the end. I'll leave some time for questions at the end. So why do we require regulation at sea? And these two wonderful pictures explain it more than anything that I can say. We need to prevent collisions. In case of an emergency, we need to know what to do. Some of the times, or most of the times, we are mixed crew from many different countries. And at the end, not all of us talk the same languages. So we need to be proficient on the same language, on the same terminology, on the yacht that we are working upon. So who is actually the governing authorities? Who is actually creating the rules and how the rules are adopted in the rest of the world? So the International Maritime Organization is the body responsible for the regulation. They are actually creating the rules. Every country that wants to have a merchant navy or a merchant yachts, they have to be a part of IMO. And that means that today we have about 177 countries in the world. All of them are part of IMO. Without that, this country will not get any allowance to actually put up boats on the sea, or actually they can put up the boats, but the boats won't be able to get into any harbor or marina in the world. And of course, they won't be able to train and get certificate to the merchant people. Below IMO, we have two organizations. One is the MCA, and the other one is the United States Coast Guard, the civil division of the United States Coast Guard. So these bodies are actually responsible for the enforcement, and lately they are also responsible for the super and mega yacht licensing. So we have to understand IMO does not or has nothing to do with the licensing. IMO just puts the rules. MCA and USCG are actually the two organizations that are responsible to address the licensing and the enforcement of the licensing. The United States or the USCG is responsible mainly for the US, Japan, and the Philippines. MCA is responsible for the rest of the world. USCG has a civil department that is responsible for licensing, or what we call international licensing. Under the MCA, there are two organizations. One is the RYA and the second one is the IYT. Those bodies are actually qualified by the MCA and by the US Coast Guard to provide licenses that are going to be applicable anywhere in the world. So the RYA and the IYT are the ones that actually or got the authority to actually provide the licenses. Both the MCA and the USCG are responsible for commercial licenses up to 3,000 tons. RYA, IYT are responsible for pleasure crafts and commercial licenses up to 200 tons and up to 28 meters, not more than that. So when we are looking at IMO, we see 5 different committees that actually provide us with the rules. The first one is safety of life at sea. Safety of life at sea actually deals with all of the engineering parts of the yachts. So what type of hull, how many tons, what should be the calculation, and so on and so forth, as well as to all safety equipment on board the yachts and the manning itself. So who can actually sail a yacht more than 200 tons? Everything is coming from the safety of life at sea. Then we have the STCW, which is the standard training, certification, and watchkeeping for seafarers. This is the body that actually provide what needs to be in the training, how the training is conducted, and who is authorized to do the training. Under STCW, or as a part of STCW, there is the GMDSS, which is everything that has to do with distress and safety systems around the world. The next convention is actually IRPCS, the International Rules of Provision of Prevention of Collision at Sea. This is a very, very legal document that people has to know before they can actually become a skipper of any kind. Then we have the MLC convention, which is the Maritime Labor Convention. This is actually one of the things that are more important to us as people that want to work on boats, because it will say how many hours are we allowed to be working on a daily basis or weekly basis. It will say what is the minimum private space that what are the minimum benefits that I have to get when I'm working on top of a boat, and so on and so forth. And it's a very large convention. The nice thing about the MLC is that they have a contract, which is a minimum contract for seafarers. The MARPOL convention is actually the International Convention for Preventing Pollution at Seas. It was updated at 1978, and now it's going to another update. And the ABYC, which is the American Boating and Yachting Council, which is approved by the US Coast Guard, is actually in charge in the US on all the technical divisions for yachts and commercial vessels. So we understand now how the structure is built up, and we have to understand what type of documents there are there and what is important for us. So a MSN document is actually the legal document coming from IMO. And this is in a lawyer, or it was put in or written in a lawyer form. The MGN is a document that actually allows us to understand how to fulfill what is written in the MSN. So the MGN is an interpretation for the law. So if we are following the MGN document, we are okay with the law. And the NTM, which is the notice to mariners, is the daily/monthly/yearly notice in anything which is local to the country that we are actually sailing at, or to be more specific, to the marina that we are actually mooring at. So if there is a change in one of the charts, it's going to be done via a notice to mariners. If there is a change in the local law, for instance, in the UK, some of the marinas, you are allowed to sail at 8 knots. Some of the marinas, you are allowed to sail at 5 knots. So this is a local bylaw for the specific marina that we are entering, or the river that we are entering, or the harbor. And this is going to be given by a notice to mariners. So those are the three types of documents that are going to be the first two generated by IMO and the MCA/US Coast Guard, and the third one by the local government or the local marina. So when we are looking at licenses, especially or specifically captain licenses, we have to divide them into a few types. First of all, small crafts. A small craft is a vessel up to 28 meters, and it can be either a pleasure craft, which is a private craft, or a commercial craft, which is a charter boat. Then we have the merchant vessels, which are the large cruisers, which we are not going to talk about them, because everything that we are going to talk is yachts. The merchant vessels, which are the large cruisers, they are still under STCW and IMO, but the training for those vessels to become an officer or captain, it's different from the small yachts or the super and mega yachts. Super and mega yachts, again, can be pleasure or private crafts or commercial crafts, and those are yachts that can carry up to 12 passengers. As soon as it becomes 13 passengers, it moves on to a merchant vessel, which has a completely different equipment and a different stability factor and a lot of other things. And the vessels are up to 3,000 gross tons, meaning if I am looking at the size of the vessel, it can go up to about 150 meters, if I remember. So the biggest yacht that is registered today is about 150 meters. And she still can carry up to 12 passengers. There is no limitation about the crew that she can carry. So 12 passengers, 30 crew, yeah, not a problem. There are actually two documents that you need to know about. One is called the MSN 1862, which is the Seafarer Training and Certification Guidance and requirements for deckhands, and the MSN 1858. Again, all of them are free of charge, published on the internet, which is the training and certification guidance required from deck officers on large yachts over 24 meters. So when I'm looking at the licenses, or actually the permissions, so there is the deckhand or crew permissions, which we are going to talk in a minute. There is the chief permissions, which is mainly for the technical issues of the boat, machinery, air conditioning, water makers, generators, propulsion, everything that has to do with the machinery, with the systems of the yachts, nothing to do with actually driving the yachts or commanding the yachts. And then we have the Master 200, Officer of the Watch 500, which allows us to work as officers or captains on yachts up to 200 tons or 500 tons without limitation of size. The Master 500 or Officer of the Watch 3000, which allows us to actually work on yachts up to 3,000 tons, as masters up to 500, but as Officer of the Watch up to 3,000. We have the Certificate of Competence for 3,000, the COC 3000, which allows us to become a first officer, second or third officer on yachts up to 3,000 tons. And the reason that I mentioned that is because there is a different way that we can go to shorten the time to get the COC 3000. And there is the Master 3000, which is, again, the highest certificate that we can achieve to become a captain on a 3,000-ton vessels. And again, I'm not going to talk about salaries this time, but there is a huge difference between becoming a deckhand, a chief, or a master, especially Master 3000. So who can become a crew, which means deckhand, bosun, stewardess, and so on? Everyone that is 17 years old or more, and they hold a valid STCW certificate, and we are going to talk about this STCW in a minute, and hold a valid ENG1 or ML5 certificate, depending on the range that the yacht is going to sail. So ENG1, unlimited, good for 2 years. ML5, up to 60 miles from shore, good for 5 years. What do we need to do to get a license for a pleasure craft vessel up to 28 meters? So we have a few of them. The easy to get are the RYA day skipper or IYT bareboat, the RYA coastal skipper, and the relative one from IYT. And then we have the yacht masters, the yacht master coastal, offshore, and ocean. When we are saying that, it's important to understand that when we are actually sailing within the EU, there is another certificate that is called the ICC, the International Certificate of Competency, and it's for coastal or inland and it's two different certificates. We need to make sure that we hold one of those when we are sailing within the EU. We are exempt from holding one of these if we are MCA 200, 500, or 3,000 tons. So if we are one of the commercial skippers, we don't need to carry an ICC. If we're working on a pleasure craft or we own a pleasure craft, we need to hold the ICC for the EU. And the EU, it's only one place. ICC is recognized in the United States, in Australia, in Japan, in the Philippines. So they're going or getting more and more recognition worldwide. What type of licenses are there that can be commercially endorsed? And what is a commercial endorsement, or what does it mean? So first of all, commercial endorsement means that we can work on a commercial vessel or on a private vessel under contract. We have to understand that when we are talking about licenses, the licenses are divided to sail and to power. So a sail license does not allow you to work on a power craft, and a power license does not allow you to work on a sail craft. So this has to be understood. But when we are talking about commercially endorsed, we see that a day skipper can be commercially endorsed. Every yacht master or each yacht master can be commercially endorsed. So yacht master coastal, offshore, and ocean can be commercially endorsed. The main differences between the yacht master coastal, offshore, and ocean is the distance that the vessel can sail from a safe haven. A coastal skipper or a yacht master coastal can sail up to 25 miles. An offshore can sail up to 150 miles. An ocean is unlimited. In order to get a commercial endorsement on our license, we need to have the following things. First of all, we have to successfully complete either a day skipper or a yacht master theory course. Because I don't know if everybody knows, but to get a day skipper or yacht master, you don't need to go through theory sessions or theory lessons. You can come and show the training center that you have the knowledge required for this level of certificate, and it's good enough. But if you want to make a commercial endorsement, you need to go through a complete theory course, either a day skipper theory course or yacht master theory course. We need to pass a yacht master coastal offshore or day skipper practical exam or practical course. In case of the yacht master is a practical exam, and in case of a day skipper is a practical course. We need to hold a GMDSS short range certificate as minimum. If we are going to go to the Master 200 and above, we need to hold a long range or a restricted operator certificate, or preferably a global operator certificate, a GOC. We have to successfully complete what we call a personal practice responsibility course, which is a one-day course that actually makes the difference between a pleasure craft skipper to a commercial. It actually introduces you to the world of the commercial. For instance, every yacht has to have operating procedures and training procedures. Most of the pleasure skippers doesn't know that because they don't need to know about it. But when we are going through a PPR course, we are actually getting to know what do we need in order to go into the commercial market. The next thing, we need to have a valid STCW basic certificate. The valid basic certificate is actually compared or conducted of 5 courses: first aid, firefighting, sea survival, safety, what we call personal safety, and security. Those are the 5 courses that we have to go, each one, but the firefighting is 1 day, and within 7 days, we can get a valid STCW. We have to do a refresher every 5 years. And we have, of course, to hold the medical certificate, which is either a ENG1 or ML5. So when we are jumping to the commercial licenses, we need, first of all, to be a validated pleasure craft skipper. So we need to hold either a Yachtmaster coastal, a Yachtmaster offshore theory and a practical certificate. And only then we can be eligible to actually go through a verbal exam for a Master 200 Officer of the Watch 500. We don't need more experience than what we got in the Yachtmaster certificate. When we want to go to the 500 or the 3000, it's a completely different story. For instance, for the 3000, we have to have minimum of 365 days at sea, not over 10 years, but over the last 2 years, which is very hard to get. And when they mean at sea, not moored. So actually working at sea day by day. And this is very, very hard. In order to be able to get eligibility for actually getting a verbal exam, we need to make sure that we comply with everything that is in this form, the MSF 4343. Again, it's a free form, and I think that I can load it. Do you see it? Niv? No? So I'll stop share and I'll do a share again. So this is actually the form that will put in context everything that I'm saying. So it will say, what are the requirements for Master 200? What are the requirements for Master 500? What are the requirements for Master 3? And it's actually going to log in everything that you need in means of experience, and it will require you to send all of the original certificates to the MCA or USCG in order to get back a response if we are eligible, if something is missing, or we need to do something else. So getting back to the presentation, for the minimum, and I mean, if we want to go directly into the Master 200 Officer of the Watch 500 or the Master 500 Officer of the Watch 3000, we need as a minimum sea service. And this will be actually in the document, the MSF 4343, for each different license that we want to apply. The second thing, we need to have a Yachtmaster Offshore or Yachtmaster Ocean Theory certificate if you want to apply to an unlimited position. We need to have a Yachtmaster Offshore or Yachtmaster Ocean certificate of competence. It means that we passed the practical exam. We need to have a valid STCW certificate. If we are applying to a Master 200, we need what we call the MCA Helm Operation Certificate. And then we have to have a valid fitness certificate, and of course, a GMDSS, either short range restricted operator, long range, or a global operator. By the way, if we are a global operator or we have a certificate like that, we can work on boats without limitation of size. So on the large cruises as a communication officer. Okay. This actually gives us a little bit of view about other courses that we'll have to go through when we are actually going into the 500 or the 3000. It doesn't specify the sea time that we need, but it specifies actually the requirement for the higher certificates. So we need what we call an advanced sea survival for yachtsmen, which can either be a RYA sea survival course or a STCW sea survival course or advanced sea survival course. We need to have an approved navigational radar, which is less than 3 years old. We need to have an approved ENDORSED course, an MCA approved ENDORSED course. We need to have a general ship knowledge, which is less than 3 years old. We need to have an approved a fishing Deckhand course. We have to have an approved helm operation course, and of course, a GMDSS global operator certificate or restricted operator certificate if we want to go to something that is more than 200 tons. So if we are going for a master 500 or 3000, this is the minimum requirements above the ones required for the 200 tons. And again, the endorsements that we have to have are advanced firefighting, which are 2 days instead of 1, a certificate of proficiency in medical first aid, which is not the regular first aid, it's an advanced one, which is 2 days, and we have to have an approved ENDORSED course and an approved management course if you want to go to a chief mate 3000, which is a different way that we can take without becoming a yacht master offshore. We can become a yacht master coastal or coastal skipper and go directly to a chief mate 3000, and then it's a lot easier to achieve that. Over here, we see the application for a yachts of less than 3,000 tons or more than 500 tons, which again has a lot of things in them. And the reason that I'm not going to go through them, because you see that every time that we jump above the Master 200, we actually have to comply with a lot of requirements and to finish a lot of courses. Some of them are 5 days, some of them are 1 day, some of them are 3 weeks. So it really depends what we want to achieve. Okay. So one of the questions that I have a lot of people asking me is why to go with the RYA for the first pleasure craft or even commercially endorsed certificates. So first of all, like in other words, SolidWorks and other softwares, there is a de facto standard, and the RYA today is de facto standard. So if you're going to come and say, I'm an IYT yacht master offshore, or you're going to come and say, I'm an RYA yacht master offshore, they are going to be treating you differently. With a lot of sorrow, I just saw that one of the ladies over here told me that she's actually completing the Deckhand and she's going to move on later on to become a captain. Because I am very familiar with what's going on in this world, I am telling this lady that this is a big mistake. It's very, very difficult to move from a Deckhand to become a captain. The RYA actually is an organization that exists more than 70 years. It has 2,500 centers across the world. There's about 25,000 instructors worldwide, and there are more than 200,000 certificates every year. And it's actually the de facto in the industry. So let's talk a little bit about Ocean-Yachting. So first of all, we are a certified RYA-MCA training center. We are both instructors and examiners. So we can actually do both the instructing and the examining, not to the same students. We can either do the instructing and then an external examiner is going to examine you, or we can do, you can go and do the instruction somewhere else, and then there is a chance that you're going to meet us as the examiners. All of our instructors, all the valid RYA and EMO, senior instructor, COC. We are, of course, sea lovers, because without that, there is not a lot or huge amount of profit teaching, seafarers. We have multiple branches. We are located in the main branches in Cyprus. We have a branch in Israel. We have a branch in the UK. All of them are working around the year. And we are working closely with leading standard organization. For instance, Seazone. We're working with all of the yacht builders. We are working with So, for instance, we are fellow members at ABYC. We are actually opening a Clipper training center in the marina that we are located in Carpasgate Marina. We are partners at SeaRegs and Plymouth Sailing School. We are working very closely with the MCA, and we're working very closely with the World Cruising Club. So we have a lot of involvement with these areas. Before I'm going to be done, I'm just going to very quickly look at the chat and try. What? Look at the chat and see if there is any questions. So I have a question regarding STCW. STCW is a standard across the world. There is no difference between an MCA STCW, a Lebanese STCW, a Cyprus STCW, or a US STCW. So what is the difference between RYA, Yacht Master, and an MCA? So RYA is mainly bringing you up to a level that you can sail a pleasure craft or be commercially endorsed up to 28 meters. The MCA are only commercial licenses for yachts more than 28 meters up to 3,000 tons, and has nothing to do with anything that the RYA is doing. That means you need to be a RYA or RYT certified and only then you can apply for an MCA license. The minimum requirement in order to work as a deckhand. So it is really important to understand what are you going to be applying for. Because if you are going to be working with food, for instance, you need to have minimum food hygiene 1 and 2 on top of the SSW and the physical certificate, the NG1 or the ML5. So this is the minimum requirement. If you want to work as a deckhand, you need to go through a deckhand course, which actually teach you seamanship and some other things. If we have a license that is not an RYA or IYT license, so we need to actually be able to become a RYA yacht master or RYT yacht master, and only then we can go ahead and apply for a position on a, of course, a commercial one, and then we can apply for a position on yachts in the charter or the delivery fleets, and afterwards we can actually apply for a verbal exam for an MCA 200, and if we pass it, job is just around the corner, because there is a lot more demand than actually positions, or there are a lot more positions than skippers. Countries that we can work as RYA or with an RYA certificate, I would say that today, after the Brexit, the only country that may give you a little bit of problems would be Spain. Rather than that, RYA is accepted at 175 out of 177 countries in the world. So I would say that we can work almost anywhere. Yes, engineers. So chief officers. So in order to become a chief officer, there is different ways that we can get training. The basic way is the MCA approved courses, which is level 1 to level actually 4. So we can actually, each level is about 5 days, and each level takes us to a different level that we can work. The first one is working with engines up to about 400 horsepower. The second one is up to about 1,000 horsepower. The third one is up to about 2,000 horsepower, and then it's unlimited. There are other options to go with, like US Coast Guard courses, which are very similar to the MCA courses. I would actually go and talk about it privately, because yeah, it's a bit more complex than becoming a skipper. Because if you are joining a new yacht, for instance, the owner or the project company is going to send you, after you have the basic certificate, to a internship in the company that is providing all of the yacht systems, especially the engines, which can be Caterpillar, can be MT, or can be other providers. Will work with an MCA Master 200 anywhere in the world without any limitation. So if you
I
have
have to stop you about the license because this is like a sensitive subject, because some countries have their own licenses and they do not accept yacht master. I know it because I'm from a country like that, so I have to do the local license in order to work commercially, even though I have the yacht master commercially. So this is something that needs to be
this is
sure.
not the issue with the MCA. The MCA is accepted.
No, but not in all country you can work with an MCA commercially licensed. That's important to kind of clarify.
With the MCA,
With,
MCA
no, with
is
the sorry, with the
with the
the
yacht
RYA.
master, you are correct. That means most of the countries will accept it. Some of the countries will ask you to do a conversion. I agree. But with the MCA license, you can work anywhere without any problems. More than that, if I'm coming, and this is the main issue, if I'm coming with a commercial yacht, with a RYA yacht master, even into a country that does not accept it commercially, I can still be moored with the yacht and travel around the coast of as long as the yacht is not registered under the flag of the same country. So let's take an example. Let's say that I have a vessel that is registered under a Dutch flag, and I'm going into Seychelles or Maldives that does not accept RYA Yacht Master as a commercial license. I can still go into the country and I can still sail in the country without the need to convert. But if I have a yacht that is registered under the Maldives or Panama or something like that, and for instance, it doesn't accept the RYA, then I have to convert. So Israeli STCW is accepted worldwide, not a problem. Merchant Israeli medical certificate merchant vessel, it really depends what it is contains, because the MCA recognizes only a few of them. We need to understand which type of certificate do you have. Yeah, IYT and RYA are equivalent in the certificate. So if you have an IYT, not a problem at all. You can actually apply for an MCA. Of course, the IYT has to be commercially endorsed, so you can apply for an MCA verbal exam for a Master 200. Regarding PLB2 or PB2, so I'll tell you the latest news. SOLAS and STCW are going to put new rules enforced from the beginning of next year. Every person that wants to work on a commercial vessel more than 28 meters has to hold a PB2. Every person that works on a commercial vessel of less than 28 meters but more than 7 meters have to hold a PB2. And every person that works on a private vessel that is up to 28 meters does not have to hold the PB2, but it's highly recommended. It's a 2-day course and it gives a lot of things. Regarding electricians or any other types of technician rather than engine or chief mates, what we call, the ABYC is providing courses that certifies you in any type of system that you want to be certified on, and this covers electricity, LPG, refrigeration, and ACs, of course, and so on and so forth. So if you want to actually get an electrician certificate, I would say that ABYC is going to be the best choice. Yes, if you are going into the RYA site, you can actually, they have a locator to find the center, the certified center near to you. And the same goes to the MCA. MCA mostly certifies training centers in the UK. There are only a few of them approved across from the UK. PB2 has nothing to do with coastal skipper or ICC. If we're old an ICC that gives us permission to sail a powerboat up to 10 meters, so we don't need a PB2. But if we are working as commercial officers on any vessel, we need a PB2. So again, if anyone wants to get in contact with us, it will be a pleasure. I'm sure that Niv will be able to provide the contact details. I assume that we recorded the session, so everybody can go and review it again. And we'll be more than happy to get together with anyone on private basis that has a question and reply to his question.
Yes, and thank you very much. You can put the link to your website in the chat. Maybe it will help. And I wanted to add a few things, and this is a great time to do all the courses before the season. I know that Ocean-Yachting has a few centers, so if you're around, especially the East Mediterranean, is always difficult to find schools, RYA schools, MCA schools. I can say from my experience, I've been working in this industry for 15 years, and I took the RYA route for captain's license and advanced licenses. And I can definitely say that in my experience, this is the best kind of route because all the red ensign flag accept it. Red ensign flag are the basically all the big mega yachts use it. There are other routes though to take that are out there, is like Malta flag routes and other routes like that. So if you have any questions, I'm sure that Ben can answer anything, or you can ask me as well. And if you guys need or looking for work for actually, you know, after the courses, you probably want to work. So Seazone is the place. We have a lot of jobs open now. I think over 70 or 80 jobs open today at the moment, and constantly looking for crew. So feel free. I will put my personal email as well here, and I will put the website here. So feel free to, you know, to register, to create a profile. It's all for free. And if you need courses, then Ocean-Yachting is a great place to do it. And they have the courses in England or in Cyprus or wherever you are. And we try to do next month. If you have interesting subjects that interest you, please let us know. We'll try to do this webinar once a month. And I want to thank really a huge thank you to Ben for taking his time and introducing us to this, you know, this wonderful world and a lot of details. And hope to see you all in the sea, where we belong.
Thank you so much, everyone. And yes, feel free to get in contact, and I'll try to answer to the best of my abilities.
Thank you very much, everyone. Ciao, ciao.